Guys, how are you? I'm Laura Termini and this is Health Talks. If you like this video, please share. You can also, we're live, so you can send some questions to the doctor. And today we're going to talk about carbs, to carb or not to carb. So you've heard it before, cutting carbs is the quickest surefire way to lose those extra pounds, right? And if you lose weight on low carbs diet, they must be healthy, right? Everything you think you know about carbs is wrong. Let me introduce you to Dr. Michelle Permel. She's part of UMiami Health, Bariatric Medicine and Gastroenterology. And if you want an appointment, you can go to doctors.umiamihealth.org. So we're going to share that info later on. So let's start. Welcome, Michelle. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Of course.
So let's talk about carbs, because I'm, with all the diets, the keto diet, the paleo diet, everything that we're doing now, I'm kind of lost.
And what's interesting is that that's the goal for all of these marketing companies. Their goal is to confuse the consumer, because when the consumer's confused, then they're going to buy into all of these products. Right? So it's the whole keto craze or intermittent fasting or the gluten-free products. You go through any health food aisle in the grocery store and you're bombarded with X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
And the typical consumer doesn't know, okay, well, if I'm trying to lose weight, what type of product is going to work for me because of all these health claims?
Why are low-carb diets so popular now?
So they're popular because they work. People see results. So ultimately, people want to be on a nutrition plan where they lose a bunch of weight, they don't have to starve themselves, and they do it in a very short period of time, right?
People want quick results.
It's instant satisfaction.
Gratification.
Gratification, exactly. So people are going to lean towards the diets that can be restrictive, but also guarantee results. People want results. So the low-carb phenomenon can help you with that. Now the issue is how restrictive you want to be. Low carb, does that mean 20% of your calories are coming from carbohydrates, 30, 40%? It can vary based on what diet you're looking at. And so restriction is key when people want to lose weight, but the degree of carb restriction can vary from one diet to another.
I think when I'm doing a diet, because I've done the keto diet, but I'm into the diet that I feel like I'm not starving, and at the same time, I'm getting the carbs that I need for my brain, because I work with my brain every day. Exactly. So I need carbs.
Yeah, so glucose is the most efficient energy source. Our brain easily works on glucose. The problem is glucose overload.
Okay.
Right? So there's a big difference between restricting your carbohydrates so significantly that you're in the keto flow. Right? You're getting all these side effects where you don't function properly, particularly in the beginning when you cut out the carbs. Ultimately, it's about reducing the excessive carbs. So eating the rice, the beans, the tortilla, the pasta, the cookies, the ice cream, that is excessive.
So the Latino diet is a no-no, and Miami diet is
job
a no-no.
security. The Latino guy gives me job security. But I can't blame the consumer.
We eat what we really crave and what we remember. Exactly. Also, and remember that a lot of us, we came from our countries to United States, and we crave the food that we feel connected to our family history. It's kind of like an emotional thing too.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely socially tied. That's where food can be very sensitive for people and difficult to talk about, because we eat when we're hungry, we eat when we're sad, we eat when we're depressed, we eat when we're stressed. And eating particularly carbs and high sugar makes us feel good. It's a comfort food.
Yes.
The sugar stimulates reward centers in our brain, just like cocaine and heroin.
Yes.
So of course, people are going to celebrate with sugar. Right? So it's all about figuring out how to reduce excessive sugar and simple carbs in order to reach your weight loss goals.
How do we establish those boundaries? Because it's difficult, Michelle. On a day-to-day basis, if you have a mom here watching, she has to wake up early, prepare lunch boxes for the kids. And then, moms are the ones who are always thinking about their family and not themselves.
Mm-hmm. So the issue here is that it will never be easy. for anyone. I do this all day, every day. I counsel my patients on weight loss and different nutritional plans, and I still struggle with it. So that's really the first thing to keep in mind is you'll never wake up and say, this is easy, I'm going to eat chicken and broccoli for the rest of my life and never crave another piece of bread again. That day will never come for the majority of people. So you have to just anticipate that. The next step is just being more mindful of what you're eating. So we are in a hustle-bustle society where we are literally eating while we're driving, while we're working, while we're on the phone, on Bluetooth, and with our screaming kids in the back seat. We are completely mindless of what we're eating. And when all these different crazes come out with, let's say, juicing, where people are going to, different places like Joe and the Juice or Smoothie King, Jamba Juice, whatever it may be, we're drinking our liquid calories. So when I ask people what they're eating, they oftentimes forget about the liquid calories. And that's a huge source of hidden sugars. And so step number 2 is really just being more mindful of what you're eating and drinking, and being cognizant of the seasonings, the sauces, the marinades, things like that add hidden calories.
Is fruit good or bad? Because when I'm on a diet, because I did a keto diet for just short amount of time, and then I started my intermittent fasting because it's the one that it works for me. But then I love fruit because it helps me with my skin, and I like the fruit. I like to eat fruit. So how can I do it? Because sometimes I'm afraid of fruit already. Like, oh my God, if I eat this, I'm gonna gain weight.
Yeah, so that the key question here is when people ask me, is this bad for me or is this good for me? It totally depends on what your goals are, right? Okay. So if you want to eat healthy, eating a bunch of fruit is healthy. I would consider healthy. And then you would ask, well, what does healthy even mean? What's the definition of healthy? That's different for everyone.
Maybe the kind of fruit that has less sugar. Right. That's something that I adapt to the diet.
Exactly. So you want to choose a fruit that has good nutrients, which fruits have great nutrients, vitamins and minerals, plus a fruit that is lower in sugar. Okay. Right? So that would be kind of a better way to frame it, because all fruit has good nutrients, but if you want a fruit that has less sugar, then I would recommend going with the berries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries.
And good for the skin too, the berries.
Versus the mango or the pineapple. Yes. So both have very good nutrients. The more fruit and vegetables we have, that increases the biodiversity in our gut and really enhances our microbiome for good gut health. So that's where eating a well-balanced fruits and vegetable kind of variety is very important. But if your goal is to reduce the hidden sugars and to help with weight loss, then it would be choosing the fruit that is lower in sugar.
So we're here with Dr. Michelle Perlman, and you can go to doctors.umiamihealth.org and you can have all the information there. We're going to share that info later. She's from the Bariatric Medicine and Gastroenterology Department in UMiami Health. This is Health Talks. If you have any questions, you can post them here. Oh, I have a question yesterday that somebody asked me. Can I do the keto diet while I'm breastfeeding? I go like, let me see, or can I do intermittent fasting?
Yeah, so when people are breastfeeding, that kind of opens up a whole nother can of
chapter.
And really, when either people are pregnant or breastfeeding, it really has to do with a well-balanced diet.
Yes.
So a lot of people love to say they're on the keto diet or they're in ketosis. It's the newest, sexiest saying, oh, I'm in ketosis. Well, most people are not actually in ketosis. People get confused with the keto diet versus a low-carb diet.
Okay.
So keto means that about 70% of your calories are coming from fat. Not fat and protein, but fat.
Fat. Okay.
A low-carb diet is where you're getting the majority of your calories from fat and protein, and then lower on the carbohydrates.
I think that's my diet.
Yeah, so that's what most people are. The problem is that when people then are in the mindset where they're in keto, they say, well, I'm in keto, that means I can eat endless amounts of coconut and bacon and nuts and peanut butter, and I can eat all of this stuff because I'm keto. Well, but if you're not really in ketosis, then you're not going to get away with adding endless amounts of fat. And meanwhile, a lot of these fat products are high in saturated fat.
Yes.
Okay, so it's one thing if you're doing, let's say, the salmon and the avocado, but in order to really sustain a keto diet, many people start to incorporate the bacon, the coconut, things like that are high in saturated fat. So there's a healthy way to do it and an unhealthy. In anyone who's breastfeeding, I don't recommend doing the ketogenic diet. I don't really recommend keto in anyone, really unless you have epilepsy, which is really where the data looks at.
Yes.
So we talk about keto and weight loss outcomes. There really are no randomized controlled trials in the general population looking at the evidence from the keto diet, besides those people who have refractory seizures. And that's very important to remember.
Dr. But I think, even though, chickenol.com, which is natural, organic, and Latina, and I started this blog just looking for my own guidance, because I was like, oh my God, I'm lost. And when I moved to the United States, I gained a lot of weight, and then I started, adapting my diet. I think people should really call you Miami and do an appointment, because I did it once. Like, you need guidance. There's a lot of information. That's why we're doing this interview, so people can have, they can have the answers from you guys, the doctors, and the data, because you guys are doing research all the time.
Yeah, and that's the issue here, is that information is good. Information overload with really not good backup with that data is very difficult to interpret. So there's information out there. Whether or not that information is going to pertain to the general population or for you as an individual is a whole nother story. So again, keto can work for some people. For the general population, it's not a diet that I recommend.
Oh, wow.
Or when people say go gluten-free, well, yes, if you have a wheat allergy or you have celiac disease, then being strictly gluten-free is very important. For the general population, I don't endorse going gluten-free. And the reason I say that is because whenever I tell my patients I want you strictly gluten-free, even if they never ate pasta, never ate bread a day in their life, they get this inkling to then go to the grocery store and start buying the gluten-free products. Because they think, okay, well, I'm going to remove gluten from my diet. Let me try that new gluten-free bread that cost me $10. Or let me try that gluten-free pasta. That looks really good. And so the problem is that they're now actually consuming more carbohydrates from before, because they went from not eating bread or pasta to now eating gluten-containing bread and pasta. And when you take the gluten out of a product, which is a protein that helps with the distensibility and elasticity of the product, it tastes like cardboard. No one's going to pay $10, $15 for a loaf of cardboard. So what do the manufacturers do? They add fat and sugar to help replace that texture.
The texture.
And so people end up
and the flavor.
Exactly.
Too, right?
So they end up thinking they're eating healthier, and they end up actually gaining weight.
And vegetarians as well. When I was a vegetarian, I tried for a year and a half, and then I gained weight. I was feeling tired, so I'm like 80-20 now. Like, my protein is good protein for only 20%. I also try, and I'm just telling you about all my experiences, because I tried everything before knowing you guys. And the raw diet, doctor, it wasn't good for my stomach, for my microbiome. It wasn't good. I was feeling bad when I was eating raw food. I couldn't metabolize them.
Exactly. So the thing is, with raw food, so there's obviously a lot of nutrients if you're eating a lot of broccoli and cauliflower and asparagus and things like that. Well, I'm a gastroenterologist, and one of my main complaints that I get from my patients is, Doc, I feel 9 months pregnant. I am so bloated. And I actually get that complaint more often come January than I do any other time of the year. Why is that? People are trying to get healthier. They have their New Year's resolutions. They're trying to eat healthier, so they're eating a ton of vegetables. And what do? They choose the low-carb, the high-fiber vegetables that are going to make them feel full. The broccoli, the asparagus, the cauliflower. The issue here is then they have tons of flatulence and belching and bloating, and they feel like they're 9 months pregnant and they can't fit into their jeans. There's nothing physically wrong with their intestine. What happens is these types of vegetables and other foods are high in FODMAPs. FODMAPs are certain carbohydrates that are undigestible, and when it reaches the distal part of the intestine, they are broken down by normal gut bacteria. And what happens when they're broken down is they form gas. They form hydrogen, methane, and sulfur. And so it's a normal physiologic response. It is normal in some folks to feel bloated if they were to eat a head of cauliflower.
Of course.
So they may lose weight because they're eating a low-calorie, high-fiber, but they can't breathe. So it's a balance. So my job is to really figure out, okay, if someone's trying to lose weight, how can I have them incorporate the high-fiber, low-calorie vegetables that will help them feel full or satiated, help them lose weight, but reduce the belly bloat.
We're like 15 minutes already, but I have so many questions, doctors. I'm going to talk about something that I wanted to ask you because you're a gastroenterologist and you understand this part of our body. Mm-hmm. It's about emotions. Because when you are under stress, do you recommend a low-carb diet as well? Do you really, when you have a patient that has a problem and is emotional, then you know that you eat well and everything else, but you see, it's true. Thank you. It's just like Miami is freezing today. If you're not in Miami, let me tell you, this is not normal weather for us. So you have the emotions here, and I've been reading a lot about that. This is our second brain, not even that. Maybe our first brain is the gut. So emotions, food, low carb diet.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
So it's the whole kind of brain-gut connection.
Okay.
So you have neurons obviously in your brain that connect to your gut. So when you feel stressed, in some folks that can slow down the gut, or in some folks that can speed up the gut. So people will sometimes be more constipated or have more diarrhea when they're going through certain emotions. Okay. So there's a true connection as far as how you're feeling and how your intestine moves and how it processes things, digests, etc. So it's easy for me to tell a patient, just get rid of your stress. Calm down, take a deep breath, right? That's
I'm that patient, please treat me. I'm that patient. The one that has a lot of stress.
So if I could give my patients a prescription pad that said stress be gone and I just sign it,
I know.
I would have no patients, right? No one would come back to clinic because stress is a huge reason for a lot of GI issues. So it's about identifying those triggers. So I will always ask my patients, when you tend to choose something that maybe is not good for you, like a bunch of cookies or cake, what sort of emotion triggers that?
But is that a food or diet that you can recommend for people like me who are stressed out, like less carbs or more protein? So what do you recommend?
So there's no one diet in particular.
Yes.
It's really just setting yourself up for success and anticipating that moment, right?
Okay.
So I can't get rid of the stress.
Aware.
Exactly. So we have to anticipate that, let's say after a long day at work and your kids are screaming and they're hungry and they just want you to make dinner, anticipate that when you get home, there's going to be some anxiety and stress, right? So set yourself up for that, meaning have stuff already prepared for you so that you don't have to worry about it. So let's say while you're preparing dinner for the family, you already had celery sticks and hummus or carrots and guacamole prepared in the fridge so that you can kind of, nibble on things while you're preparing dinner. Have that set up, because the last thing you're going to want to do when you're stressed or anxious is to cut up some cucumber or celery. That's not going to happen.
Of course.
But if it's pre-cut and ready to go, then it's there for you waiting. And that's really the biggest thing.
Food preparation is key.
Exactly. And if you know that your trigger is chocolate, or if you know your trigger is ice cream, okay? Again, there's going to be stressful and anxiety-provoking moments in your life. Do not have your trigger food at home, right? Because and I know myself, I love my damn peanut butter. If I have a jar of peanut butter at home and I'm stressed or anxious or I'm bored, I will eat half of it, right?
Yes.
So I don't keep it at home. Right, so you just really
at the neighbor's kitchen.
Exactly. So that if you really want that peanut butter,
yes.
Now with Uber Eats and everything, you can get anything delivered.
Yes,
unfortunately, it's kind of the death of us all. But at least you have to get out of the home in most cases in order to get that food. So do not keep the trigger food at home, because those moments are going to come where it's going to be a struggle.
Thank you, doctor, for that final thought. Thoughts for me, and thank you so much for being here. Please share this video if you like it. This is Health Talks. Remember that here at U Miami Health, we have the best doctors and the best experts, so you have all the info here. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm gonna cut it and enjoy Miami weather.